The Galactic Council had always been uneasy about humans. They were the newest species to join the Council, and yet they had already gained a reputation that stretched across the stars. While most species relied on technology, weapons, and armies to show power, humans seemed to rely on something entirely different. The most puzzling thing about them was their guards. Every meeting in the Great Council halls saw every species bringing armed soldiers. Massive exosuits, energy rifles, plasma swords, and shields that could stop the strongest blasts were normal. Yet humans sent guards who carried nothing. No guns, no blasters, not even a simple dagger. Just simple uniforms, calm faces, and eyes that seemed to see everything. Many council members whispered that humans were either foolish or arrogant. Ambassador Lena Carter of Earth arrived at Vorex Prime for the annual treaty meeting. She walked through the massive glass doors into the chamber, her 3 human guards following her. Captain Daniel Ross led them, a tall man with a straight posture and quiet confidence. He did not carry a weapon, yet he moved as if he could handle anything that came his way. The other humans behind him were similar, calm, alert, and completely unarmed. The council members stared. Delegates from across the galaxy leaned forward, whispering among themselves. "Why would they send guards without weapons?" asked one delegate from the Avrian sector, a species known for their sharp teeth and aggressive nature. "They must be foolish." Lord Zartek, the reptilian representative of the Karth Dominion, did not hide his scorn. He was tall and muscular, with scales that reflected the light of the chamber. "Humans," he said, his voice low and cold, "you bring no weapons. Are you weak, or do you think us fools?" Lena did not flinch. She looked at him calmly and said, "Captain Ross can defend better than any weapon can." Zartek's lips curled into a snarl. He had faced warriors from hundreds of worlds and defeated most of them. Yet the calm in Lena's voice irritated him. He did not understand it. Most species relied on intimidation and firepower, not discipline and skill. As the meeting began, humans stood quietly beside their ambassador. Their eyes scanned the room. Every movement, every gesture of other species was noted. Other delegates noticed this. It was almost as if the humans could anticipate what would happen next. During the session, Zartek could not resist mocking them further. "I have fought many species," he said, "and I have never seen such foolishness. Guards without weapons? How can you expect to survive in a dangerous galaxy with no defense?" Lena replied without hesitation. "We survive not because of weapons, but because of training, focus, and understanding. Captain Ross and his team are more than capable of protecting me." The other delegates were curious now. Many of them had heard rumors of human skill, but few had ever seen it firsthand. Some speculated that humans might have secret weapons hidden in their suits, or that they had technology so advanced it could make them unstoppable, but nothing seemed visible. They carried only their presence. Over the next few days, the council noticed the humans' strange habits. They did not react to threats with anger. They did not carry shields or energy guns. When minor disputes broke out between delegates, the humans remained calm and did not intervene until absolutely necessary. Yet when they moved even slightly, it was with such precision and control that no one dared test them. Captain Ross became the focus of attention. Delegates would occasionally watch him quietly, noting how he shifted his weight or how he observed others. It was almost hypnotic. He moved like water, smooth and effortless. Yet there was an unmistakable power behind it. One evening, during a private dinner for council delegates, a few of the more arrogant species discussed the humans in hushed voices. "They are dangerous," said a representative from the Zalarian Empire. "I have never seen anyone move with such speed without weapons. I have watched them, and yet I cannot guess what they are capable of." A delegate from the Givran sector, a small cat-like species, added, "It is like watching a predator that does not need claws or fangs. You know it can kill you, but you cannot see how it will strike." Meanwhile, Lena observed quietly from the corner. She knew the council underestimated humans because they did not understand them. The human guards carried no weapons, not because they were unprepared, but because they had mastered themselves. Every movement, every reaction, every decision was trained to protect life and defeat threats without a weapon. Ross noticed the whispers too. He moved among the delegates with calm efficiency, never drawing attention, never showing aggression. Yet even his casual glance seemed to make the strongest and most arrogant delegates pause. It was not fear exactly. It was respect. A new kind of respect born not of intimidation but of understanding that humans were not like any other species. Some younger delegates tried to provoke the humans. They would bump into them or whisper insults, testing their reactions. But the humans never lost control. A small gesture, a shift in stance, or a quiet word was all it took to calm potential conflict. No violence, no escalation, only mastery of presence. One day, Lord Zartek became impatient. "Enough of this," he said. "If your guards are truly capable, let them show us. A demonstration, a test. Surely they cannot defend themselves against trained warriors without some sort of weapon." Lena was calm, as always. She looked at him and said, "We do not fight for show, but if it is necessary, one match, controlled and non-lethal, can be arranged." The council buzzed with excitement. A few species even volunteered to be the opponents, eager to test these humans and see if the rumors were true. Everyone wanted to see what made these humans so different. Ross and his team prepared quietly. They stretched, adjusted their posture, and focused. No weapons were drawn, no armor was fitted, yet there was a feeling in the room that something powerful was about to happen. Even the security personnel seemed tense, unsure of how to respond if things went wrong. When the signal was given, the humans moved. It was like a dance, but one with deadly precision. Ross sidestepped the first attack, using his opponent's momentum to send him off balance. His teammates followed, deflecting, redirecting, and neutralizing each opponent without a single weapon. The audience could hardly believe what they were seeing. Massive armored soldiers fell without being hurt, stopped simply by precise movements and leverage. It was as if the humans could read the future, anticipating every strike and countering with perfect control. The demonstration ended quickly, leaving the council in stunned silence. Not a drop of blood had been spilled. The humans stood calm and unshaken as if nothing had happened. Ross bowed slightly. "We were told this was a test of readiness, not strength," he said simply. For the first time, many delegates realized that humans had never needed weapons to be powerful. Their bodies, minds, and training made them more than capable of defense. The unarmed guards were not weak, they were extraordinary. Even Lord Zartek was forced to acknowledge it. "It seems," he said slowly, "that we have underestimated your species." Lena smiled faintly. "You're beginning to understand. Humans survive not because of technology or numbers, but because we understand how to protect life, how to act when others cannot, and how to control ourselves even in danger." The council members murmured among themselves. The mystery of the unarmed guards was no longer about foolishness or arrogance. It was about power beyond the ordinary, a mastery that few could comprehend. As the meeting ended, whispers of the humans' abilities spread throughout the council halls. Some delegates felt fear, some respect, and some a strange mixture of both. But everyone agreed on one thing. Humans were not to be underestimated, and their guards carried no weapons because they were already the strongest force in the room. Ross led his team back to the ambassador's quarters, silent and disciplined. Lena walked beside them, knowing that this was only the beginning. The council had seen the surface of human capability, but they had not yet seen the depth. The galaxy, she knew, would soon learn why humans carried no weapons to meetings. And in that moment, among the stars and alien worlds, humanity's quiet power began to shine. It was not flashy or loud. It did not need to be. It was simple, disciplined, and unstoppable. The council could not stop talking about what they had seen. Every species was buzzing with questions. How could humans move so fast and so perfectly without weapons? How could they stop soldiers twice their size without a single scratch? Delegates whispered behind their hands, but no one dared confront the humans directly. There was a mixture of fear, awe, and respect in the air. Despite the attention, Ambassador Lena Carter acted as if nothing had changed. She walked through the council halls with her usual calm, and her guards followed silently, eyes sharp, bodies relaxed, ready for anything. Captain Daniel Ross noticed the eyes that followed them, the hands that twitched near weapons, and the tension that spread when they passed. It was the first time he had seen so many species react with such visible fear to humans' presence. The next day, a private session was scheduled to discuss a new trade agreement. The room was smaller than the main council hall, but it was just as crowded. Representatives from 10 different species were present, each wearing weapons and armor, ready for negotiation or, if necessary, conflict. Ross and his team entered quietly, moving to stand beside Lena without drawing attention. As the session began, A delegate from the Zilarian Empire, a tall, insect-like species, decided to test the humans. He shifted in his seat and whispered something to a colleague, and the colleague suddenly lunged toward Ross with a short energy blade. The room gasped, expecting chaos. Ross did not react violently. He moved his hand in a small, precise motion, and the blade stopped mid-air. The Zilarian stumbled backward, confused and unhurt. The human's movements were so smooth and controlled that it seemed impossible. Other delegates froze, unsure what they were witnessing. Lena remained calm. "Our guards are trained to protect without harming unless necessary," she said softly. "They do not need weapons because they have mastered themselves." Some delegates laughed nervously. "It is only luck," one said. "No one can move like that without some hidden tool or device." Ross turned to them, his expression unreadable. "No luck, discipline and training. That is all." The Zilarian delegate tried again, this time using a small group to surround Ross and his guards. He thought numbers would give him an advantage. The humans reacted as one, moving in perfect coordination. They blocked and redirected every attempt without using a single weapon. The room was silent except for the faint sound of shifting feet. In less than a minute, the attackers were disarmed and sitting quietly on the floor, stunned and unharmed. The council members watched in disbelief. They had trained soldiers, weapons, and armor, yet humans had controlled them with nothing but their own bodies and minds. This was not just skill. It was something the council had never seen before. After the demonstration, Lena spoke. "Humans do not carry weapons because we have learned to control ourselves. Every movement, every decision is meant to protect life. Our strength is in our training and our will, not in the weapons we carry." The delegates were quiet. Some of them looked embarrassed. They had underestimated humans, assuming that unarmed meant weak. They were beginning to understand that humans were far more dangerous than they had imagined. Later that evening, the council held a reception in the main hall. Delegates moved among the tables, whispering about the events of the day. Zartek, the reptilian representative, approached Lena with a stiff expression. "Your guards are remarkable," he said. "I thought it impossible for unarmed humans to control trained soldiers. I was wrong, but why? Why would you choose to show such power without weapons?" Lena smiled slightly. "We show our strength not to intimidate, but to remind the galaxy that violence is a choice. Our guards carry no weapons because we believe in peace first. But if peace fails, you have already seen what follows." Zartek's expression softened, though a flicker of fear remained in his eyes. He nodded slowly and walked away, deep in thought. Other delegates watched him and whispered among themselves. They were beginning to realize that humans were not ordinary. That night, Ross and his team trained in the council's private gym. Lena observed quietly. The room was filled with other humans from Earth who had come with her as additional security. They moved in silence, practicing strikes, blocks, and movements that seemed impossible for human bodies. Every strike was controlled, every block precise. It was like watching a dance, but one designed for survival and protection. Ross paused and spoke quietly to his team. "Remember, we are here to protect, not to show off. Control is more important than power. Every movement must be purposeful." The team nodded. They had trained for years for moments like this, knowing that their skills might one day be tested in the council halls. But tonight they were training to remain sharp, disciplined, and ready for any situation. The next morning, news spread quickly through the council. A delegation from the Rith Coalition, a group known for their secretive attacks and sudden strikes, had planned an ambush near the outskirts of Vorex Prime. Word reached Lena and Ross before the attack could begin. Lena called a meeting with her human guards. "We may have to act today," she said. "The Rith are unpredictable. Stay alert, but remember, our goal is to protect life and stop the attack before it escalates." Ross nodded. "We are ready. No one will be harmed unless absolutely necessary. They will not expect what we can do." As the humans moved toward the location, council members watched nervously. They could see the humans walking without weapons, calm and confident, moving into an area where armed Rith soldiers were known to be. Some delegates whispered that the humans were reckless. Others were too afraid to speak. The Rith attackers emerged suddenly, attempting to strike with blasters and knives. Ross and his team reacted instantly. Their movements were precise, deflecting every attack, redirecting their opponent's energy and neutralizing the threat without causing permanent harm. In moments, the attackers were subdued, unable to continue. The council delegates arrived shortly afterward and were shocked. Not a single human was hurt, not a single civilian was harmed, yet the attack had been stopped completely. The humans had protected everyone using only skill, control, and coordination. Lena looked at the council members calmly. This is why we carry no weapons. We are capable of defending life without creating unnecessary destruction. We act only when needed, and when we do, we act with complete control. For many delegates, it was a lesson they would never forget. Humans were not just unarmed guards. They were disciplined protectors, capable of defeating armies without firing a single shot. After the incident, discussions in the council turned serious. Some species realized they had underestimated humans. Others began to question their own reliance on weapons and brute force. The idea that a species could be powerful without relying on tools or weapons was new to them, and it made them uncomfortable. Lena and her team returned to their quarters. Ross spoke quietly. The council is beginning to see what humans can do, but this is only the start. They will need more than demonstrations to understand us fully. Lena nodded. Let them see. Let them learn. Humans have always been underestimated, and it has often worked to our advantage. But the galaxy will soon understand why our guards carry no weapons. It is not foolishness. It is control, training, and a discipline they cannot match. That night, the council members held a private session. They discussed the events of the past days, the demonstrations, and the attack that had been stopped. Zartek, still visibly shaken, said, "We have always relied on technology, on weapons and numbers. Humans have shown us that we are wrong to believe that is all strength is. They do not carry weapons, yet they are stronger than any army I have commanded." Other delegates nodded in agreement. Some felt fear, some felt respect, but all agreed that humans had shown a power that went beyond their understanding. They had seen skill, discipline, and control used in a way they had never seen before. For Lena and her team, it was another quiet victory. They did not celebrate. They did not boast. They simply prepared for the days ahead. The council had learned something important. Humans were not to be underestimated. Their guards carried no weapons because they did not need them. And slowly the story of the unarmed human guards spread across the galaxy. Every species began to whisper about them, some with fear, some with admiration, and some with a mixture of both. But all agreed on one truth. Humans were not ordinary, and their discipline, skill, and control made them a force that no weapon could match. Ross looked at Lena that night. "Do you think they understand yet?" he asked. She smiled faintly. "Not yet, but they will. Soon the entire council will see that humans are different, not weak, not reckless, but disciplined and powerful in ways they cannot imagine." And so the humans continued their quiet work, moving through the council halls, training, observing, and protecting. The galaxy was beginning to realize that humans did not need weapons to be strong. They only needed themselves. After the incident with the Rith attackers, the Galactic Council began to see humans differently. Whispers spread through the halls of Vorex Prime, and every delegate began to notice the quiet power of Earth's guards. Even the most arrogant species were cautious when near them. The humans did not need weapons, and the council members were slowly learning why. Ambassador Lena Carter walked calmly through the halls, her guards following without a sound. Captain Daniel Ross led them, moving with a precision that seemed natural but was far beyond anything the other species had seen. They passed by delegates who had weapons strapped to their bodies, who now lowered their weapons slightly when humans approached. It was a small gesture, but it was the first sign that humans were earning respect in the council. Lena entered a large meeting room. A group of delegates from various sectors had gathered to discuss trade routes and resource sharing. They were tense, still shaken from the Rith attack, and their glances often darted to the human guards. The room was filled with armored soldiers, energy rifles, and high-tech shields, but none of that seemed to matter. All eyes were on the humans. One of the delegates, a tall blue-skinned being from the Selvian sector, leaned forward. "I still do not understand," he said. "Your guards have no weapons, yet they stopped trained attackers with minimal effort." "How is that possible?" Lena smiled slightly. "It is not impossible. They are trained to use their bodies, their minds, and their focus to protect and defend. They are disciplined in a way that few species understand." The Selvian delegate frowned. "We all have training. Our soldiers are skilled. How can unarmed humans be so effective?" Ross stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. Our skill comes from years of preparation. Every movement is practiced. Every decision is calculated. We protect life first. We only strike if there is no other choice. That is why we are effective. Some delegates whispered to one another. They could not fully grasp what Ross was saying. Most species relied on weapons, armor, and numbers. Humans relied on themselves. That concept was strange and even frightening to them. Later, the council decided to hold another demonstration, not to test humans, but to better understand them. Delegates from different species volunteered to participate. They wanted to see exactly how humans could control situations without weapons. The demonstration took place in a large arena within the council complex. The room was filled with spectators, and the humans entered quietly, their posture calm and composed. Ross and his team moved like shadows, alert and ready. They carried no weapons and no armor. Yet every eye in the room was drawn to them. The first group of volunteers approached. They were armed with energy batons, the kind used to subdue dangerous criminals on their home worlds. The humans did not flinch. They moved with calm precision, intercepting the volunteers' attacks with minimal effort. Every block, every redirect, and every step was carefully calculated. The volunteers were disarmed without harm and sat on the floor, stunned by the skill of the humans. The next group was more aggressive. They used training weapons that could simulate lethal strikes. Again, the humans moved as one. Ross intercepted one of the attackers using his body weight and the attacker's momentum to send him stumbling backward. His teammates acted in perfect coordination, neutralizing the threats without causing injury. The spectators were silent. They had never seen anything like this. The humans did not need weapons because their bodies, minds, and reflexes were more powerful than most soldiers' weapons. It was clear that humans were not ordinary, and the council members began to understand why their guards carried no arms. After the demonstration, Lena addressed the council. Humans have trained to protect and to act with control. We do not carry weapons because we do not need them. Strength is not only measured by what you carry, but by what you have mastered. Our guards carry themselves and their training as their weapons. A few delegates nodded, but some still looked uneasy. The idea that humans could be so strong without technology or weapons challenged everything they believed about power. Most species measured strength by firepower and armor. Humans measured strength by skill and control. The following days were tense. Delegates began observing the humans more closely, watching their every move. Some attempted small challenges, bumping into them or making subtle threats. The humans remained calm. They did not act unless necessary, and when they did, they moved with skill and precision. One morning, a representative from the Karth Dominion tried to provoke Ross during a hallway discussion. He stepped close, blocking Ross's path, and whispered a threat. Ross did not move aggressively. Instead, he shifted his weight slightly, adjusted his stance, and simply looked at the Karth representative. The man froze, a shiver running down his spine. Without a word, Ross stepped past him. The representative moved away, shaken. Lena watched from nearby and said quietly, "Humans do not need to fight to show strength. Sometimes, stillness is more powerful than action." That evening, Ross and his team trained quietly in a side chamber. They practiced movements, blocks, and strikes not to show off, but to maintain their skill. Their training was constant. Even when there was no immediate danger, they had mastered control over their bodies and minds. That control made them more dangerous than any weapon could. Lena joined them briefly. "The council is learning," she said softly. "They are starting to understand what we can do. But it will take time before they fully accept it." Ross nodded. "We have always been underestimated. That has always worked to our advantage. The galaxy is learning that now, but they will not forget it." The next day, news arrived that a group from the Rith Coalition was planning another attack. This time it was larger and more coordinated. They intended to disrupt the council meetings and create chaos. Lena and Ross were informed before the attack began. Lena gathered her team. "We may need to act soon. Stay alert, but remember, our goal is to protect life first. Only act if necessary." Ross led his team to the location, moving calmly through the corridors. Council members watched in awe as the unarmed humans approached the danger zone. They did not carry weapons, yet their presence alone seemed to command attention. The Rith attackers appeared, armed with blasters and blades. Ross and his team moved instantly. Every strike was precise, every movement calculated. They neutralized the attackers without causing permanent harm. The situation was under control in minutes. Not a single human was injured, and all council delegates were safe. The delegates were shocked. They had trained soldiers, weapons, and technology, yet the humans had stopped the attack with nothing but skill and coordination. It was clear that humans were different from any other species in the council. After the incident, discussions turned serious. Delegates realized that humans had a level of discipline, control, and power that no weapon could match. They began to reconsider their own reliance on technology and firepower. Ross and his team returned to their quarters. He spoke quietly to Lena. The council is beginning to understand, but they will never fully comprehend what humans can do. They see the results, but not the depth of the training and discipline. Lena nodded. It is enough that they see the results. Humans have always been underestimated. That is our advantage. The council will learn, slowly but surely, that strength is not only measured by weapons, it is measured by skill, control, and will. Over the next few days, the story of the unarmed human guard spread across Vorex Prime. Whispers filled the council halls. Delegates spoke of the humans' speed, precision, and control. Some were fearful, some were in awe. All agreed that humans were not ordinary. Ross watched quietly as council members discussed what had happened. He knew the humans had made an impression, but there was more to show. Humans did not rely on weapons or intimidation. They relied on themselves, and that made them stronger than almost any other species. That night, Lena and her team reviewed the past events. "They are beginning to see," she said softly. "But there is more to teach. Humans have always been underestimated, and we will continue to use that. The galaxy will soon understand why we carry no weapons." Ross nodded. "We protect first. We act when necessary, and when we act, the galaxy sees our strength. That is how humans survive and how we will continue to lead by example." The council began to change slowly. They still brought weapons to meetings, still relied on technology and soldiers, but now a quiet respect had entered their discussions. Humans were no longer seen as weak or foolish. They were disciplined, controlled, and terrifyingly capable. Everywhere they went, the human guards moved with calm confidence. They did not need weapons, for their bodies, minds, and training were enough. The galaxy had begun to see why humans carried no arms, and they would not forget it. Lena and Ross walked through the halls one last time that evening, their team close behind. The council chambers were quiet, the delegates thoughtful. The humans had made their mark. They had shown that strength could exist without weapons, that control could surpass firepower, and that humans were a force the galaxy had never seen before. And in that quiet moment, as the stars shone outside the council windows, humans continued to prepare, train, and protect. They had shown the council their power, but they had not yet revealed all. The calm in the council halls did not last long. Word came that a rogue faction from the Rith coalition had planned a strike against the council, this time much larger than before. They had discovered that humans carried no weapons and assumed they would be easy to overpower. But they were about to find out just how wrong they were. Ambassador Lena Carter received the news in her quarters. She did not panic. Her face remained calm as she called Captain Daniel Ross and his team. "The Rith are planning something," she said. "This will be bigger than the last attempt. They think humans are unarmed and weak. We need to be ready." Ross nodded. "We have trained for situations like this. Stay calm. Protect the council and we will handle the rest." The human guards gathered silently. They had no weapons, but their eyes were sharp and their bodies ready. Each of them knew what to do without being told. The discipline and training that humans had developed over centuries allowed them to act instantly, without hesitation. Outside the council chambers, a group of Rith soldiers approached. They moved quickly, expecting to catch humans off guard. They were armed with energy rifles, plasma blades, and stun grenades. Their plan was to create chaos, take hostages, and force the council to surrender. Ross and his team observed the soldiers from the corridors. They did not panic. They did not rush forward recklessly. Instead, they moved with patience, calculating each step and anticipating the attackers' movements. As the Rith entered the chamber, they opened fire. Blasts of energy filled the room. Council members ducked for cover, but the humans did not flinch. Ross moved first, dodging a blast and redirecting a plasma blade with a precise push. One of his teammates, Sarah Lane, intercepted another attacker, using her momentum to disarm him and send him stumbling into a wall. The Rith were stunned. They had expected easy victims, but the humans moved faster than their weapons could react. Every strike was blocked, every attack redirected. It was as if the humans could see the future, anticipating every move before it happened. Lena stayed close to the council members, keeping them calm. "Stay down and safe," she said quietly. "Our guards will handle this. They are trained to protect you." Another group of Rith soldiers tried to flank the humans from the side. Ross adjusted his stance and moved as a unit with his team. One attacker rushed toward him, but Ross twisted and redirected the man's energy with a single motion. Another soldier aimed a rifle at Sarah, but she used his momentum to disarm him, causing him to collapse without injury. The council watched in awe. They had seen demonstrations before, but this was different. This was a real attack, and the humans were handling it flawlessly. Not a single council member was harmed, and the attackers were being neutralized without permanent injury. The Rith realized too late that they had underestimated humans. Their weapons were useless against skill, speed, and coordination. They tried to retreat, but the humans moved with silent precision, blocking exits and disarming anyone who attempted to escape. Ross caught a Rith soldier who had tried to hide behind a pillar. With a simple motion, he disarmed him and held him down. "You are done," Ross said firmly. "Leave this place peacefully or you will face consequences." One by one, the Rith soldiers surrendered. The humans had turned what could have been a deadly attack into a complete victory, without causing unnecessary harm. Council members who had expected bloodshed were silent, their eyes wide with disbelief. After the attack, Lena addressed the council. "Humans carry no weapons, not because we are weak, but because we have trained ourselves to be strong. We act only to protect life. Every movement, every decision is controlled. You have seen what we can do when necessary." Some delegates were still in shock. They could not fully understand how unarmed humans could defeat armed soldiers so easily. The Karth delegate Zartek stood quietly, his scales reflecting the light. He did not speak, but the respect in his eyes was clear. Ross and his team gathered near Lena. "The council now knows," he said quietly. "They have seen what humans can do, but they will only understand fully when they see the discipline behind it. Strength without control is meaningless," Lena nodded. "They are beginning to learn. They are starting to see that humans are different, not just in skill, but in thinking. We do not rely on weapons. We rely on ourselves." News of the attack spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Stories of humans neutralizing a heavily armed group without a single weapon reached every corner of the council's communication network. Delegates from other sectors whispered among themselves, some in fear, some in admiration. All agreed that humans were no longer to be underestimated. The Rith soldiers who had survived were taken into custody. They spoke of the humans' movements, their precision, and the complete control they displayed. They could not understand how humans could act so efficiently without weapons. Even their own leaders were shocked. Within the council, discussions began to change. Some species began to question their reliance on technology and brute force. Others began to see humans as a standard of discipline and control that could not be ignored. The phrase "unarmed human guard" spread through the council like wildfire. Ross continued training his team quietly. "They have seen our strength," he said. "But strength is not only in the moment of action. It is in preparation, in discipline, and in control. That is what humans bring to the galaxy." Lena observed the council's reactions. "The galaxy is starting to understand," she said. "They have seen results, but they do not yet see the depth of what we do. They will learn slowly, but they will remember." The following days were tense. Delegates moved carefully around the humans. Even the most aggressive species treated them with respect. There was a quiet fear in the council halls, a realization that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Ross and his team patrolled the council chambers, still unarmed, still calm. They moved silently, watching, protecting, and preparing for any unexpected threats. Their presence alone was enough to command attention and caution from everyone nearby. Lena knew the council's perception of humans had changed forever. No longer were they seen as naive or foolish. They were respected and in some cases feared. Humans had shown that discipline, skill, and control could surpass the power of weapons. At night, Ross and his team trained in a quiet room. They practiced movements, blocks, and strikes, keeping their bodies and minds sharp. They knew the council would continue to test them, and other threats might appear. Preparation was key. Lena joined them briefly. They understand some things now, she said softly. But humans have more to show. The galaxy is learning, but the full lesson is still ahead. Ross nodded. Strength is not just in action, he said. It is in control, in patience, in knowing how to act and when. That is why we are unarmed. That is why the Council must respect us. The humans continued their quiet work, moving through the council halls and training at night. Delegates whispered about them constantly. The story of the attack spread throughout the galaxy, and humans became a symbol of disciplined power, showing that weapons were not the only measure of strength. Even the Karth delegate, Zartek, spoke quietly to other delegates. We have underestimated humans for too long, he said. They are not just warriors. They are disciplined, controlled, and more capable than any of us realized. We must treat them with respect or face consequences we cannot imagine. Lena and her team moved through the halls the next morning. Ross's eyes scanned every corner, every entrance, every movement. They were ready for anything. The Council had seen the humans' power, but humans were always prepared for more. And as the stars shone outside the Council windows, humans continued to train, protect, and observe. They had shown their strength when needed, yet they remained calm, disciplined, and unarmed. The galaxy had begun to understand why humans carried no weapons, and the lesson was one that would echo for centuries. The Rith attack had been the true test, and humans had passed with perfect control. No lives were lost, no permanent damage was done, and the Council saw firsthand the power of discipline over firepower. Lena looked at Ross and his team, pride and confidence in her voice. They have seen it now, she said. They know humans are different, but the galaxy will learn more in time. We do not just defend. We show that control, patience, and discipline are more powerful than any weapon. Ross nodded silently. And when they fully understand, they will respect humans not because we carry weapons, but because we have mastered ourselves. The council halls were quiet now, but the story of humans spread quickly. Across the galaxy, whispers grew louder. Unarmed humans had stopped a deadly attack, protected the council, and demonstrated power beyond understanding. The galaxy had begun to realize that strength did not always come from weapons, but from discipline, skill, and the will to protect. And in that calm, silent moment, humans prepared for whatever would come next. The council had seen only a part of what humans were capable of, and the lessons were far from over. One thing was certain. Humans carrying no weapons were not weak, and anyone who challenged them would soon regret it. After the Rith attack, the council halls were quieter than usual. Delegates moved carefully, speaking in hushed tones, often glancing at the humans. The events had left a strong impression. They had witnessed unarmed humans stop a heavily armed attack without any injuries. They had seen control, skill, and speed that no technology or weapon could match. For the first time, many realized that humans were not ordinary. Ambassador Lena Carter walked through the halls with her team. Captain Daniel Ross led the human guards, his calm presence drawing eyes from every corner. Even the most aggressive delegates now kept their distance. The humans moved quietly but with authority. Their bodies and minds were weapons of a kind the galaxy had never known. The council called an emergency session to discuss the recent events. Delegates from all corners of the galaxy gathered in the main chamber. Some wore armor, some carried weapons, and some simply watched, uncertain of how to act. The humans entered as always, unarmed, composed, and confident. The room went silent as they took their positions beside Lena. Lena spoke first. The recent attack has shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. We carry no weapons not because we are weak, but because we have mastered control, skill, and discipline. Our strength is not measured by technology or tools, but by ourselves. The humans you see before you are trained to protect, to defend, and to act when necessary. That is why we carry no weapons, the council murmured among themselves. Some were impressed, some still skeptical, but most were beginning to understand. Zartek, the reptilian delegate, stood and nodded slowly. I have seen it with my own eyes, he said. Humans are not to be underestimated. They carry no weapons. Yet they are more capable than any soldier I have ever known. A few delegates from the Zalarian and Selvian sectors whispered nervously. They had always relied on weapons and power to command respect. Humans had shown them that discipline and skill could surpass everything they had relied on. It was a new understanding, and it made them uneasy. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the council complex. A massive ship from the Rith Coalition had entered orbit around Vorex Prime. It was a warship, heavily armed, and it was heading toward the council chambers. This was no small attack, it was a full-scale assault. The council panicked. Guards scrambled, weapons were readied, and alarms echoed through the halls. Delegates looked at Lena and her team with fear. The humans had stopped small attacks before, but could they handle an entire warship? Ross and his team moved calmly. They did not run or panic. They assessed the situation, calculated the best approach, and prepared to act. Lena stayed close to the council members, keeping them calm. "Stay safe," she said. "Our guards will handle this." "Trust them." The Rith ship fired its first blast. The council chambers shook and debris fell from the ceiling. Some delegates screamed while others froze in fear. The humans did not move in panic. They acted. Ross and his team reached the docking area where the Rith soldiers were attempting to enter. Hundreds of attackers flooded in, armed with rifles, energy blades, and grenades. Most species would have retreated, but the humans stood their ground. The battle began, but it was not like anything the council had seen. The humans moved with perfect coordination, blocking attacks, redirecting energy blasts, and disarming soldiers with precise movements. Not a single human was injured. The attackers could not land a strike, and many found themselves disarmed and confused within moments. Lena watched as Ross intercepted a soldier who had rushed toward the ambassador. With a quick movement, Ross used the attacker's momentum to send him crashing into the wall. Another human guard, Mia Grant, neutralized a group of attackers by redirecting their energy with calm precision. Every movement was controlled, every strike purposeful. The council watched in awe. Not a single life was lost, not even among the attackers. The humans did not kill unnecessarily. They simply used skill and discipline to neutralize threats. For the first time, the delegates understood what humans truly were. They were not just fighters. They were protectors, capable of controlling chaos with nothing but their bodies and minds. Even the Rith soldiers were in shock. They had come expecting to dominate and kill, but instead they were being stopped by humans with no weapons. Some surrendered immediately, realizing they were powerless against such skill. Others tried to escape but found every exit blocked by the humans' perfect coordination. Ross moved through the battlefield with calm efficiency. He did not shout or panic. His team followed his lead, each member acting as if they were one body. Energy blasts, plasma swords, and grenades were neutralized by movement, redirection, and control. Within minutes, the entire attacking force was either captured or fleeing. The council erupted in murmurs of disbelief. "How is this possible?" one delegate whispered. "They have no weapons, and yet they are unstoppable." Lena turned to address the council. "You see now why humans carry no weapons. We have trained ourselves to protect, to control, and to act when necessary. Our skill is in our discipline. Our strength is in ourselves. Weapons are not always needed when you have mastered your body, your mind, and your will." Even the most skeptical delegates nodded slowly. They had witnessed the humans in action, seen their skill, and felt their quiet power. It was impossible to deny. Humans were unlike any species they had known. After the battle, Ross and his team returned to Lena. They were calm, composed, and uninjured. "The council has seen our strength," Ross said quietly. "But they have only seen part of it. Humans carry no weapons because we have trained ourselves to be complete. Discipline, control, and skill are more powerful than any tool." Lena nodded. "The galaxy will remember this day. Humans have shown that strength is not always measured by weapons. We have defended life, preserved peace, and shown what it means to be human." The Rith ship, now retreating, sent a message back to their leaders. "Do not underestimate humans," it read. "They are not armed, but they are unstoppable. Retreat now." Throughout the council, delegates whispered about the humans. The story of their defense spread quickly. No other species had ever neutralized an entire attack force without weapons. Humans had proven that control, skill, and discipline could surpass technology, numbers, and firepower. Ross continued training his team quietly. Even after such a major victory, humans never celebrated. They practiced daily, maintained their discipline, and prepared for any future threats. They understood that true strength came from mastery of oneself, not from weapons or armor. Lena addressed the council one final time. "Humans have always been underestimated," she said. "We carry no weapons not because we are weak, but because we are strong in ways the galaxy is only beginning to understand. Our guards are trained to protect, to act with control, and to defend life. That is our power. The council members listened in silence. They had seen the humans in action, faced their skill firsthand, and understood that the humans were not ordinary. From this day forward, the galaxy would treat humans with respect. They would no longer underestimate them. Even Zartek, the Karth delegate, spoke quietly to other members. We have been wrong about humans for too long. They are not just warriors. They are disciplined, skilled, and capable of controlling any situation. We must respect them, or we will face consequences we cannot survive. The humans continued their work in the council. They moved through the halls, patrolled the chambers, and trained quietly at night. They did not need weapons, for they had mastered themselves. Every council member, every species in the galaxy, began to understand the truth. Humans were dangerous not because of weapons, but because of discipline, skill, and willpower. The story of the humans spread across the stars. Unarmed guards had stopped attacks, neutralized soldiers, and preserved life without firing a single weapon. The galaxy remembered their skill, their calm, and their power. Every species, no matter how advanced or powerful, began to treat humans with respect and caution. Ross and Lena stood together, looking out at the stars from the council windows. The galaxy had seen their strength, and it would not forget. They will remember today, Lena said softly. Humans carry no weapons, yet they are unstoppable. They will never forget it, Ross nodded, and they will never underestimate humans again. Discipline, skill, control, and willpower are more powerful than any weapon. That is what makes us human. In the quiet council halls, humans continued their training, their patrols, and their watchful observation. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans carrying no weapons were not weak. They were powerful beyond measure, disciplined beyond understanding, and unarmed only because they had mastered themselves. And from that day forward, every species in the council knew that humans were not to be challenged lightly. They had seen the full extent of human skill and discipline. They had seen what it meant to face humans who carried no weapons, and they would never forget the lesson. The galaxy would remember. Humans were unarmed, but unstoppable.